and I married someone that was. You know, I always tell guys when they meet a woman. Jay Leno built his career on being the nice guy. Clean jokes, family values, loyal husband, but a rumor followed him for 40 years. An affair that could have destroyed everything. Leno always denied it completely. Now at 75, as he cares for his wife with dementia, he's changing his story. The rumor was partially true. He admits his memoir will reveal details that shock Hollywood. The confession involves someone who meant more to him than anyone knew. America's favorite host had a secret worth millions. Jay Leno was born on April 28, 1950 in New Rochelle, New York. His home was full of two very different sounds. His mother, Catherine, came from Scotland and often sang lullabies in a heavy accent. His father, Angelo, worked in insurance and was always talking fast, trying to close sales. Catherine had come to America alone at the age of 11. She didn't speak any English when she arrived, but she had promised herself that her kids would learn how to work hard. Angelo once drove through 3 different states in one day just to make his sales quota. At night, their house was full of stories and songs. Young Jay sat at the table, listening closely. By the time he was 7, he had memorized his father's entire sales pitch and would perform it for the neighborhood kids. He even used fake insurance charts and made a few nickels doing it. He learned early that working hard and being funny could both earn you something. He also decided he would never live off just one paycheck. Jay had trouble in school. Teachers thought he was slow. He couldn't read well and often got words mixed up. He didn't know it at the time, but he had dyslexia. In 1st grade, he struggled with basic phonics. In 5th and 8th grade, he had to repeat the whole year. In 1968, a guidance counselor told him to drop out, but instead of breaking down, Jay made a joke. He copied the man's serious voice and switched all the letters around. His classmates laughed and he got detention, but it lit a fire in him. He began writing jokes every single night. He filled entire notebooks and forced himself to read them backward, hoping it would help his brain. At 17, he snuck into the school's announcement booth and played a fake weather report, warning about teacher layoffs. He got suspended for 3 days, but the prank became school legend, and Jay realized that even his reading problem could become a comedy weapon. When Jay was 14, he got a job at Tony's Pizza in Andover making $1.25 an hour. He wasn't allowed to use his dad's shiny Buick, so he drove a worn-out Dodge to deliver pizzas. He had to make each delivery in under 20 minutes. So he started calling the customers first, pretending to be a concerned dad asking if Jay had arrived yet. That way, they'd be waiting at the door. It saved time. While driving, he practiced punchlines in the rearview mirror. He rated each joke on a clipboard stained with pizza grease. In February 1966, during a snowstorm, he showed up at a college party with 2 pizzas. He asked to trade them for 5 minutes on stage. He joked about anchovies and snow chains. "Excuse me, can I have the key to the washroom?" "Yeah, here it is. It's on this big ring, and don't try to steal it." He made $22 in tips. His first paid comedy gig, Tony wasn't happy and told him to stop messing with the menu. Leno, the pelican-faced comedian, some would call him, but the moment stuck with Jay. Also in 1964, Jay entered a talent show at the local YMCA. He tried to imitate his idol, Rodney Dangerfield. He even put cold cream on his face to mimic Rodney's sweaty look. But when a stage light hit him, the cream made him look like a clown. The crowd thought he was mocking Rodney and started booing. Jay panicked and ran off stage, knocking over the microphone and breaking the sound system. He had borrowed $5 from his brother Patrick to enter, but now he had to pay it back. That night, he played the sound of the boos over and over, exactly 47 times. He told himself he would only continue if he could come up with his own material. In 1989, Jay got into Emerson College in Boston. They only accepted him because the founder felt bad about his dyslexia. He chose speech therapy as his major, but mostly skipped class. Every night, he went to a small open mic at a strip mall cafe. On November 12, 1969, another comic stole one of Jay's jokes about a Scottish-French teacher. Jay was so angry he jumped on stage and fought the guy outside. The crowd started yelling, "Read him his vows." Campus police showed up but didn't arrest anyone. Jay chipped a front tooth during the fight, which gave him the chin-forward look that later became part of his image. The school threatened to expel him, but Jay offered to start an official comedy club instead. That club still exists today. After graduating in 1973, Jay moved to Los Angeles with just $350 and a rusty Chevy. He slept on the couch of fellow comedian Tim Merson and only got to perform at 2 a.m. for free. Mitzi Shore, who ran the Comedy Store, didn't like his clean-cut style and banned him for 6 months. To survive, Jay performed in pizza places and even did comedy at a topless lounge inside the Aladdin Casino for $40 a night. David Letterman helped him get back into the Comedy Store in 1974, but Jay never forgot how Mitzi treated him and later refused to perform there for decades. Jay got his first shot on The Tonight Show on March 2, 1975. He was supposed to have 5 minutes, but Johnny Carson told the band to stall and cut Jay down to 3. Jay was angry and argued with Carson backstage. Carson warned him not to push it. The producers smoothed things over, but Jay's performance was shelved and didn't air until May. That 9-week delay felt like forever to a hungry 24-year-old comic. Between 1973 and 1976, Jay dated 5 different women who all had the same birthday, September 5th. He joked that it was like dating the same person in 5 wigs. He even got called Mr. Virgo Vortex by a gossip columnist. Jay became obsessed with asking people their birthdays, which led to strange rumors in Hollywood. Then on April 30th, 1976, Jay met Mavis Nicholson at the Comedy Store. He was rushing to the bathroom and bumped into her by accident. They talked near a broken urinal. After the show, he saw her again near the ladies' room and asked for her birthday. When she said September 5th, Jay burst out laughing. They went to eat chili that night. Their first real date didn't happen until August because Jay was doing over 300 shows and driving 52,000 miles that year. They made it work. In 1978, Jay got a small part in the movie American Hot Wax, playing a driver named Mook. He was paid $5,000 and filmed for 10 weeks. The movie flopped, making only $2.2 million against a $6 million budget. A producer told him to stick to stand-up. The movie failure and a pay strike at the Comedy Store sent Jay into a slump. He thought about selling his old 1955 Buick and becoming a mechanic. But on October 6, 1979, he performed for 2,800 people in Denver. The show sold out, and that night, he decided to stick with comedy forever. On November 3, 1980, Jay and Mavis got married. They picked the date to match his parents' anniversary. The wedding was small, held at a friend's house. Their relationship had started back in January 1976, but it wasn't love at first sight. Mavis had come to the club just to meet people for her writing career, but she liked Jay's look and said he was gorgeous. Their marriage was based more on loyalty than romance. They believed in being there for each other, in sickness and in health. That turned out to be very important, especially after Mavis was diagnosed with dementia in 2024. DJ's career really took off when he became the regular guest host for Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show in 1986. He was careful, though he acted like he wasn't trying to take Carson's job. But secretly he met with NBC bosses and worked behind the scenes to become the next host. This plan worked. On May 25, 1992, something happened in Hollywood that felt like a betrayal to many. Jay Leno took over The Tonight Show. But the way he got that seat shocked people across the industry. Everyone had expected David Letterman to be the next host. Even Johnny Carson, who had ruled late-night TV for decades, wanted Letterman to take his place. In fact, during his final years, Carson would often send Letterman monologue jokes, but NBC made a different choice. They gave it to Leno, who had been Carson's regular guest host. Carson didn't hide his disappointment. He didn't mention Leno at all during his final episodes. Later, he even went on Letterman's CBS show twice, which many believed was a clear message. Letterman felt deeply betrayed. In June 1993, he left NBC and started his own show on CBS. That whole transition was so bitter that people inside the business called it a loyalty test. Leno had to pick sides, and many felt he turned on people who helped him. It gave him a new image, someone willing to do whatever it took, even if it meant burning bridges. Leno's first night as host didn't go well. His debut episode aired on May 25, 1992, and it was a disaster. Many celebrities who loved Johnny Carson refused to show up. Leno was left calling agents, almost begging them to send guests. Ratings were terrible. NBC panicked. And behind the scenes, things were worse. She gave speeches in Congress, held events with celebrities, and became a target because of her bold stance. Jay supported her quietly, always in the background, writing checks, showing up at events, but letting her take the spotlight. He admired her courage. Over the years, their marriage became less about romance and more about partnership. They shared values, work ethic, and loyalty. In 2014, when Jay left The Tonight Show for the last time, he told his audience that Mavis was the reason he succeeded. He said that she kept him grounded, that she reminded him what mattered when the fame got too big. For decades, Jay stayed scandal-freer, so people thought he was seen as one of Hollywood's good guys, a rare husband who never cheated, never drank, never partied. But a rumor had always followed him, one that traced back to the 1980s, long before he was a household name. A story about a woman he was close to, someone who knew him before The Tonight Show, before the fame. For years, gossip magazines hinted at an affair. Jay denied it every time. He called it nonsense, said the tabloids made things up. He said he had never betrayed his wife. But now, decades later, at 75, with Mavis suffering from dementia, Jay has started telling a different version. In his upcoming memoir, he admits that part of the rumor was true, that before his marriage, and even in the early days of it, there was someone he couldn't let go of. A woman he'd met in the 1970s when he was still struggling. She wasn't famous, but she had been part of his journey. They stayed in touch, sometimes talking for hours when he was on the road. He never named her publicly, but people close to him knew. The relationship didn't involve betrayal in the way people assumed, but it blurred the lines of emotional loyalty. Jay says it was one of his biggest regrets that he hadn't been fully honest with Mavis about how much that friendship meant. As he's grown older, Leno has started reflecting on what fame cost him. The drive that made him rich also made him distant. He was always working, always performing. While other celebrities took vacations, Jay was booking gigs. He did over 300 shows a year. Even while hosting The Tonight Show, he lived below his means, never spent his TV salary, and saved every check. People admired that, but few realized it came from fear of losing everything. Fear of going back to being broke, fear of not being good enough. His dyslexia made him feel stupid as a kid, and no matter how much he achieved, that feeling never went away. Success, for Jay, wasn't about joy, was about survival. When Mavis' health started declining, Jay became her full-time caregiver. Friends say he visits her every morning before doing anything else. He still drives her around, even when she doesn't remember who he is. Sometimes she calls him the funny man. He laughs and plays along. After spending decades chasing applause, Jay now spends his days chasing moments of clarity from the woman who once believed in him more than anyone. He said in one interview, "I don't mind, she was there for me when I had nothing. I'll be here for her now." Those who've seen them together describe him as patient and gentle. A different Jay than the one who used to fight for ratings. Even now, Jay refuses to slow down. He still performs in small comedy clubs and car conventions. He still fixes his cars, sometimes with bandages on his hands. His life has become a strange mix of nostalgia and danger, a man trying to stay busy so he won't have to face how much time has passed. In a world where most celebrities fade or retreat, Jay Leno keeps going, partly because he loves it, partly because he doesn't know how to stop. The man who once ruled late-night television now spends his nights surrounded by engines instead of cameras, grease instead of glitter. The laughter hasn't stopped, it's just quieter now. And maybe that's how Jay likes it. The boy who once couldn't read now writes his legacy in a different language through motion, through persistence, through love. He says he has no regrets, but his eyes sometimes tell a different story. He built his empire one punchline at a time, survived Hollywood politics, outlasted rivals, and walked away with millions. But in the end, the same relentless drive that made him a legend also took pieces of him he can never get back. The empire still stands, but the man inside it has changed. Jay Leno, the nice guy of late night, the hard worker, the mechanic, the husband, the survivor. His greatest performance may not have been on television. It may be the quiet, unseen act of loving someone who no longer remembers who he is. Under the dim light of his garage, Jay Leno wipes his hands on an old rag, the faint smell of oil lingering in the air. Rows of vintage cars gleam around him like ghosts of the past, each one a chapter of his story. Each one a reminder of a time when life moved faster and laughter came easier. He turns the ignition on a '57 Chevy, and the engine roars to life, its echo filling the empty space. For a moment, he just sits there, eyes closed, listening not to the machine, but to the rhythm of his own memories. There was a time when millions tuned in to hear his voice, to laugh at his jokes, to share their nights with him. Now, the audience is gone, replaced by the hum of an engine and the silence of his own thoughts. Yet, there's peace in that silence. For the first time in decades, he doesn't have to perform. He doesn't have to compete. The ratings wars, the backstage politics, the pressure to be America's favorite late-night host, all of it has faded into the background noise of history. What remains is simpler: a man, his craft, and the woman who once stood beside him through it all. Sometimes he talks to Mavis even when she doesn't respond. He tells her about the cars he's restoring, the jokes he's writing, the shows he still does on weekends. She listens with a distant smile, her eyes searching for something familiar. He laughs, the same way he did on TV, trying to fill the space between them with warmth. And every once in a while, she calls him by his name softly, like a whisper from another lifetime. Those are the moments that keep him going. In an age where fame fades faster than a commercial break, Jay Leno's legacy endures, not because of wealth or records, but because of persistence. He never chased controversy, never tried to reinvent himself for the times. He stayed true to who he was: a mechanic with a microphone, a workhorse with a heart. Hollywood came and went, trends shifted, faces changed, but Jay remained steady as the hum of an engine that refuses to stall. Now, as he stands in that quiet garage, surrounded by decades of stories on wheels, he finally understands what all the success was for. Not for the applause, not for the headlines, but for this: the chance to look back and know that he gave everything he had. The boy who once struggled to read became a man who taught millions to laugh. The performer who conquered late night found his peace, not on a stage, but in the simple act of love and loyalty. As the garage door opens and the morning light spills in, Jay drives out slowly, the engine steady, the world quiet. He smiles to himself, not the wide showbiz grin that once lit up television screens, but a smaller, more honest one. For all the laughter he gave the world, This right here, in the stillness of an early morning drive, is where he finally finds his own.